Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and I would like to thank you for having turned up in large numbers. So I want to go through a slide, leave the rest so that we have an interactive class. I believe in that because people tend to focus on what is there and miss their eye for who is delivering the message. Now, I'll broadly talk about tech. The previous speaker has been very elaborate through her role in integration of energy and technology. But by show of hands, how many of you here know nothing about technology? Don't worry, don't fear to raise your hand. Because we might end up saying certain things without knowing that some of the people are not at consensus and Eden with us. How many of you are in the field of technology? Those that are here and are in the field of technology. How many have relatives in the field of technology? How many are part of investment in technology? By show of hands. How many just are covered with those that are here? I know Mr. Kakaide, there is a saying, it says a story about three persons who appeared before God. There was an African and a white man and these guys from Asia. So God told them, let every one of you make choice of what they want. The white man said, I want to rule the world. And God said, so be it. The Asian said, for me, I would like to have knowledge and make money. God said, so be it. Then God looked at the African and he asked him, what do you want? He said, anything. For me, I just accompanied this one. So, for as long as we can fall for anything, then we have no future. Now, this is where my story starts. I'm a lawyer by profession, with a bias in oil and gas and environmental law. But I'm in tech by calling. And I've excelled in tech in my own right, and I feel I'm happy where I am. Not that it is something I thought of. Someone came to me a few years ago and lectured me about tech. I was so comfortable in my field until I realized that there is no world without technology. And the key driver of the world at the moment is innovation. And innovation through what? Innovation by either being aided by technology or by the advancement of technology or by the use of technology to propel us to the next level. Now, in every field that you are, I'll now talk politically because my presentation was long. In every field that we are, technology has a basis to either lift you from those at the bottom, to lift you to the middle, and those in the middle to take you to that fourth stage, and then the farthest to the point, to the stage of wealth. Now, since every one of you here at least has some knowledge about tech, I will not talk about the invention of the computer and how it transformed us, but that history is good enough to tell us where we are. And what part of this journey have we made a contribution? I'll talk about this with a bias on our own countries and Africa. And this is where I've been invited in global platforms to open eyes of people, including African leaders and legislators, that for as long as we do not fall onto the path of technology, we do not have a real chance of picking up our own tatters from the curse of slavery to the tables of those that have to decide for the world. Now, when you look at our history, we did not take part in the major revolutions of the world, and you know them. In the agricultural revolution, we were rudimentary. We were hand pickers and hunters. In the industrial revolution, we were followers. Why? Because of the burden of colonialism. It is only that will be introduced to us through the elementary education that we got, that we had to comply to. So, we are so unfortunate that there is a gap between us and the first world. The only luck that we have is that we have you who have come here, seen it all, and would like to bring it back home. However, the most unfortunate masterpiece is that those that are home are scared of you. That's what I tell people. Either what you speak they cannot understand, or even if they understand it, they see you as a threat to their hegemony. Now, that is the biggest misgiving. Why African society does not resonate with those that seem to be with brains. We have a society of simplicity, simple people. They want, if we go for example for elections, they want to vote that one that looks like them. I don't know whether you understand what I'm saying. So if you go into an area that is of a slum, they will not vote for someone who comes from the upscale. They will say he doesn't look like us. But you see, there is no development driven by technology that is driven at such a pace where you look at one that is like you. You must look up to someone that is better than you. Now, by the bridging of our society, that is why you have witchcraft, things of that nature. Because people do not seem to get content with what they have and look forward from getting ideas to those that are better, they look to destroy them. And that is why there is that saying, when you go, instead of thinking, how was this plane made? An African will say, let me transliterate it, that this dog of a European man or a white man has made a plane, because they can't think beyond that. So they call you a dog, they refer you to an animal. They compare it to an animal because you have outthought them. Let's go back to the principles. Tell me one single field that has not been impacted by transformation in technology. And where was the birth of technology? From the invention of power and the use of power in driving machines and machines making life easy. That was the role of technology. How do we create solutions that make life easy? So literally, that is how I want to interpret it. So that if we go back to digitize our people, we try to show them that before you were there, we had landlines, where you would go to a neighbor and call. Now you have a mobile phone in your hands, and the first generation was the one which was not a smartphone. Now, if you woke up your grandfather and told them that there is a phone where you speak to your child in America and you're viewing one another, you just say, you take me back to the grave. Because I don't understand the world in which we live. So when we tell people with inventions in nanotechnology and other things that people will be able to live on other planets, they'll also think the same way. But the advantage you have from these countries is that they have visions based on generation. That the generation to come must find a foundation of this caliber. Now for us, we eat the generation, we eat the next generation, and the next generation after that, so that they don't meet any foundation available. And I understand the frustration of every one of you here. And it's not only in Uganda, but it's in Africa generally. And I would like to be very, very candid, Rwanda. Rwanda is really following the path that everyone should be following. I've tried to call upon people that let's not think of this petty politics and jealousy, but Rwanda is following the path that everyone should look forward to. And the mother of all that is necessity. It has no minerals, it's very tiny, but it has looked at the niche and said we shall build a human resource. The same dream as Singapore. Now, what should be our model? Can we look at a model like South Korea? A country with about 57 million people, but with a GDP of over $2.1 trillion. Compared to India, which has a massive population with about $3 trillion. 1.5 billion Indians producing air. 57 million South Koreans having 2.1 trillion. And what is the basis? Industrial technology. Delivery. Therefore, we must cite an example that we must follow. Because if we talk about Singapore, okay, they are 5 million. They are strategically located. But they are invested in growth in technology through skill transfer. And it's a leading example. The GDP of 5 million people is bigger than the GDP of the entire East African Federation that has over 400 million. Ethiopia, Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, and Congo combined plus South Sudan do not have the same GDP as a country of about 8 million to 5 to 8 million people, which is Singapore. So, is it quantity or quality? Therefore, the answer is res ipsa locuta in law. The facts speak for themselves. Where do we see the leverage? Where do we start from? Because you ask me, Honorable, where do we start from? Because why I didn't go into the semantics, all of you know them. If we go to medicine, there is telemedicine. They are inventions from amongst you. Can we take them back home? Yes or no? So if some of you that are here, what is the challenge that we are facing in Africa? Small human resource. You have one radiographer. For example, I'll tell you about Uganda. We have less than 59 radiographers. I think Rwanda has 16, but for such a massive population. So, what solution would you engage us into in telemedicine? Creation of a one single center of diagnosis. One radiographer sits here, images are taken hundreds of miles away, interprets them, sends them back. They don't need to have a single radiographer at every unit of the hospital. Similarly, we can do it. But how will that radiographer know what he's doing when he's not digitized through education? So the basic to everything is the digitization of the population, so that if we integrate digitization and digital literacy, they know how to use that computer, how to use it to send images, how to use it to make Excel sheets, how to use it to make data analytics. The basics of usage of a computer, then why not? That coupled with power, like she talked about, and connectivity, major solutions will be found to things that are becoming a hindrance to our development. So, do we need to build as many health centers and residences for doctors and radiographers as possible? No. You only need to put up one diagnostic center. You need to have one GP seated in a hospital somewhere, running over 20 health centers. Yes, Rebecca Nasa, yes sir, I'm here. What is your problem? IPH is done by the first person there. Data is entered. By the time he enters, he says, Rebecca, I'm already aware. I know your temperature, I know X, Y, and Z. What is your history? He has the history. At the end of the day, Rebecca's data is shared at the national database. Meaning, even when the minister comes to parliament to present, they know how many people are suffering from malaria on a single day. And how does that help? It helps in the planning. Now, I've only talked about telemedicine. Let's go back to deployment of penalties. Everyone comes to Uganda. I want to talk about simple things. Hey, border, everywhere border. We have borders. I don't know whether you're from Uganda, some of you. These motorbikes. That is not a problem. But if we revolutionize transport, you will not say border tomorrow. Why? The reason as to why they are in dispute and you cannot enforce the penalties is because there is a lot of corruption. And the cause of that is the interface between human beings. Cut that interface. By the deployment of measures in the AI and use of digitization through cameras. You hit the robot, a message comes on your phone. Rubega Nasa, you've hit the robot at Ginger Road. You have to pay government 200,000. You have 5 days to pay all this. Beyond that, we shall confiscate and auction that motorbike. Rubega Nasa will appear. There will be no policeman to bribe. There will be no one to meet. A digital solution will have been provided. The provider of that solution will have just come and will give you 5%. Government will raise money. You as the investor, you raise money, but you also save us from accidents. And we will have a city that is well-aligned. People are moving. Even here, people are very indisciplined. There is no problem. But here, the moment you do it in real time, Kavule Ronald, you've hit the robot at Austin, $500. Or else, we will penalize you on maybe your driving license, etc. So, these people have known how to use soft power, even in law enforcement. Therefore, there are very many things we can solve. Of course, what most of us know about technology is the trade platforms and social media. It's the only thing the African knows, TikTok, WhatsApp, etc. But there are very many solutions. For example, in fintech, financial tech solutions, we appreciate what has been done by many of our colleagues, but we've not supported our local entrepreneurs in this measure. Most of us are using Wave, SendWave, and etc. But if we had started a platform on a platform, if we identify someone coming up with an innovation, whether in the diaspora or at home, and we encourage them, and this is the battle I had with people in Parliament. The only thing that they did, having realized that people had started these small platforms, they introduced a charge. You know what charge? That every entrepreneur that starts a platform of money transfer shall have to deposit money with the central bank. Killing them. The same thing that young people had started. At the end of the day, you drive out the small ones and you leave the giants. Because Wave could easily pay $300,000. Now, Katweri, who has started this small platform, could not match up because these guys had become a threat to the mafia system that is there with the mobile money platforms. Mobile money platforms controlled by gurus, which you know there is monopolistic competition in the communication industry. And that is food for another day. I've been battling with those ones. We've concluded one battle. You can imagine they were using people's digital rights like musicians, call back tunes, and we've succeeded in defeating them in court. And musicians, we are there deal-dallying with them. I told them, let's challenge these people in court. Because a musician produces this song, you sell it to me as a callback tune, and you give him only 1 shilling. And then you sell it to me, and I renew it every month for 150 shillings, and you give him 1 shilling. For 2 years, I have a song of Chameleon in my... But I asked Chameleon, how much do you earn? Do you know what he told me? He told me they only give me 3 million every year. But imagine if 10 million people were using his caller tune and renewing it monthly. 10 million times 150 shillings is how much? This man was earning nothing from it. Finally, I'll move to the stage of, I've talked about industrialization. As a country, we have the URI. How many of you have heard of URI? Uganda Industrial Research Institute? You're very few. Uganda has a free industrial research institute where you can go and make your own innovations. I'm happy to report that I was there 3 times. I even found a few Ugandans trying to build drones who succeeded. But majority of the people that were there were Muzungu coming from this side to make research. So, not many people are aware that Uganda Industrial Research Institute that was built to the tune of $150 million is there where you can go and become, we call it an incubator, where you can go and start your own business without paying any rent. Whether you want to start a factory of milk or cosmetics, whatever it is an industrial research. There are qualified people who are willing to help you. But I can vividly report that in this financial year's budget, I don't know whether our minister is there, it received no fund. Opportunities. That's the reality, because I was battling with these people on the floor of Parliament. No one cared. Because either those I was talking to, colleagues, didn't understand absolutely what I was talking about. I remember I was telling them in the last financial year that, listen, you can talk of dumping and etc. But we need computers and laptops in this area. There were those that had offered to send used computers and refurbished. And here I said, you tax them at the same rate as the new ones. And I told them, do you know the cost of a brand new computer, laptop? It's about $1,500, depending on what it's going to do. And you say you will tax it. So in which year will Ugandans be able to raise $1,500 and purchase this computer? Remember, they are in an economy where they are competing with the child in a global economy from here, who is given a free laptop. Ours must look for money and buy it. That is why people reach university. Remember, you reach Makerere and you can't type your own coursework. Why? We were not literate. You don't know how to use Windows, you don't know how to use the Excel sheet, so you end up sending your work to a secretariat in Katanga, someone to type, they mistype it, you fail. When I told the people, now I'll disclose, I'm one of the people that are part of the development of the LLMs, the large language models. I was one of the partners. I remember in 2019, I told people we will have artificial intelligence and we will have large language models. I don't know, some of you saw my video. And I told them, there will be an innovation where we will create the virtual world, but also the futuristic world through artificial intelligence by the use of the large language models. I think I was on NBS. And I told them, you ask a question and get an answer of, even if you ask for 20,000 pages. I think our interviewer said, aren't you dreaming, Honorable? Now the dream is here. You all know ChatGPT and everyone, hey, ChatGPT, GPT 3.5, GPT 4. But these are things we told the people. What does that send me to? For you that are here and are investing in technology, the engine that is the driver of technology on the Internet of Things shall be none other than data. The new gold of the world is data. He who has data is going to be the wealthiest person. It's the most traded commodity. The other is in infrastructure, investment in infrastructure. For as long as you own the infrastructure, you'll enjoy the profits. I heard Madam here talking about power. Simple solution. We are grappling with connectivity. Do we only need to rely on the optic fiber? No. For as long as there is rural electrification and movement of power lines, the right of passage using the power lines by mounting towers to extend the network is the next big deal. I'll leave it there. I've given you one opportunity. How many of you are in infrastructure, movement of infrastructure? Here I think the biggest mover was Verizon, one of them. Therefore, for as long as you need to move the internet from point to point, there is no time to dig underground. Already they are moving power pylons on which you can mount stations and extend the internet to the farthest point. The US has provided $55 billion worth of funds for internet connectivity. And the reason is there is a battle on who controls the global infrastructure of the world. That is why you saw President Joe Biden move to Saudi Arabia. The reason was, do you accept Chinese Huawei or you're taking? I'll leave it at that, I might go to politics. Or you're taking our infrastructure. He who controls the infrastructure shall control the data, shall control the internet, and shall control the world. That is why the next generation of battle is the battle of who controls the storage of data, what we call cloud computing. in movement of finance and money, and in the next generation of computer, which is artificial intelligence and robotics. The engine of AI and the fuel that services it is data. You only have to give a machine data to produce for you what it needs. Without data, a machine is useless. The fuel of data of robotics is data and the data point. And finally, the biggest tool of infrastructure is he who controls the batteries, talked about them, and the chips. That is why you're hearing the war of Taiwan. That is why the US government will invest every single resource and military might to defend Taiwan because of the TMC, that single company that has a GDP that is nearly half of Africa, a single company. Why? It produces the most required chips that serve as the engine of technology. Every single gadget that you will use shall need a chip in the next 10 years. For as long as it will be called smart. It will therefore have a motherboard that will have a chip that processes the information that you have so that you can make an interface. From this projector, to that microphone, to the glasses you will use, to the car you will drive, to everything. Therefore, the battle of the world today is he who controls the supply of the chips. That is why you're building many sites in Arizona here in America, and you're defending Taiwan. Therefore, that is the infrastructure that moves technology, the computer, the power, and everything. Now, finally, as I conclude, where are we? I remember I told you those 3 men that went before God. Now this African just says, but them just accompany them. We are just accompanying the game. We are just consumers. Unless we break the jinx of being consumers, we will be financial slaves for the rest of our lives. This is how the world has been shaped. By creation of digital money as a tool of control. Some people might not want these words. Someone wants me to talk about the blockchain. No one will allow you to run the blockchain because it gives you financial freedom. There is no way countries and governments will allow that to dominate, because for as long as it can be used by anyone, anywhere in the world as a store of wealth, it means it threatens the dominance of a given currency. The world's trading currency is the United States dollar. Anyone who threatens its dominance has declared war on the United States. And that is the reality. These are the untold stories. So they'll do anything to defend it. So if you come up with digital assets, good as they may be, unless there is legislation rooting them here, you will be taking away the dominance of the currency that guarantees their security. China can do whatever it does, and I'm talking about this with open mind. China is a very strong country. It has done advancements in technology. It has tried to match the US, but the US is distant. It is the model. It is the model of the world's dominance in technology, and it's the one we look up to. That is why it is the first country to set up the first Center for Artificial Intelligence Safety, and calling upon the whole world to realize that no one in the world can go it alone. After the cat was let out of the bag through the introduction of artificial intelligence, now everyone is going to be on their own. Have you heard about AI? Are you aware that now a rogue person can even do what we call deception? Because you've been used. I'll give you an example. If we have an argument here, what does everyone say? Everyone says, Google it. Because there is that message that was sent to you that authenticity is based on But it doesn't necessarily mean that everything that Google has is the right thing. For example, it has a wrong date of birth of mine. Even Wikipedia. But you've been meant, you can even bet. Okay, what do you say? This is what, and you? The referee will come and say, let's use Google. Now, that is the sale of the technological dominance of the powerhouses of cloud computing. If you want to develop anything in technology, where do you do your storage? Who holds the cloud? Amazon, Microsoft, who else? Google Cloud. I'm talking about, these are the top companies that will lead the world forever, for as long as they do the data storage. Digital Ocean, etc. All of them based where? US. Therefore, the US has strategies that have been there for the last 100 years. Who are there as a think tank to think of only one thing: world domination. And how do you dominate the world? You dominate the storage of information. For as long as I know what happens everywhere, then I exactly know what to do. I can predict what is coming. That is why I was telling you, where do you place your children now? In two things: cloud computing, data science. For you who want to retool, technology is not taking away jobs. No, it is just displacing you. So if you go back and retool, there are more jobs for you. Robots delivering food are going to run down. Who is going to service them? Who is going to deploy them? Who is going to control the cameras? Who is going to... Every single thing in finance. And finally, who is going to do the golden job that will never go away, called cybersecurity? As I conclude, someone is cutting me short. The job that will never go away in tech will be maintenance of infrastructure and cybersecurity. There are people right out there that are meant to destroy. That's why I started by saying, for as long as you go up, there is someone that is bent hell forward to pull you down. Therefore, you need someone to absorb that shock. And the shock absorber is one that secures you. So who is your guardian angel? Your guardian angel is the cyber security expert, who is going to be there, willing to work remotely, to promote you, to protect you, to uphold you, and uphold your values on the web. Therefore, the most important person is the cyber security person. Finally, the role of government is digitization of people. Personally, I have a program of coming up with as many people as possible to give scholarships in our country. Legislation, when I brought the Computer Misuse Act, people thought it was a joke. I'm glad now every country is adopting it in its legislation, and I was thanked by the global community with the invention of AI. You know what we call the deep fake? I put you here, I make you speak words you've never spoken, and you're held accountable for them. So if there is no stringent law that stops a person from doing that, you'll see what that will lead us to the world. And when I told the people, others took it political because of their myopic understanding. And I have no sympathies for them. Skills realignment, etc. Finally, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for having given me this opportunity. I would like to create more synergies with you. Those willing to invest back home in Africa, I've given you a glimpse in a few opportunities: creation of infrastructure, creation of small innovation centers, digital transformation centers, but also finally, it's now that Africa is still green. If you can look for a concession of where we have cobalt, where we have lithium, someone was talking about it, and finally silicon, you'll have wealth being passed on. Also in pharmaceutical technology, it's one of the things that are going to be top there on the agenda in telemedicine. Innovation of solutions to fight cancer, etc. I might not speak about everything. If you give me more opportunity, we shall interact. May the good Lord bless you for God and my country. My name, as usual, Mohamed Nsereko. I represent the people of Kampala Central. I also own the audio rights of the Premier League in Africa. Someone was asking for technology in IoT. If you're to air football in our local language, you must pay me digital rights. Part of technology and communication.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Honorable. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of appreciation. Okay, so let's have you for 1 or 2 minutes so we can get some audience reaction to this. Remember that our goal is to stir and to spur engagement. This is not exhaustive. I would like you to be very brief and precise. We have another presentation coming right up. I want to have a lady and a gentleman. All right, so I have a couple of hands up. What do I do here? I'll let Honorable select.
No, all can come through one
For
meeting.
sure, but I will take the primary.
You say I'm a politician, how do I select?
Just
I'd rather
pick
say
so
all
that
of
you are
them.
responsible. Because if I pick out the responsible for not speaking the other. So,
Sir, since you've given me the opportunity, I'll give each one just 30 seconds to ask and I'll answer all of them at once.
I don't know whether we can get those
This
answers.
man is not democratic.
No. You also have a lawyer and a politician. We concluded like 7 times. All right. Let's do this. I'll take one from here and one from here. How about that? Cool? All right. I'll take you because your hand went up first. And yeah? But I need a lady. So seed one. Next to you, right? Okay. And I want to do A and B, right?
Honorable Nsereko, it is a very interesting talk, and I agree with everything you say. And as a legislator, I want to ask you the following. Actually, technology development without intellectual property is impossible, specifically patents. Now, if I look at the website for Uganda Registration Service Bureau, I see that to register a patent, you need about $200, $350. Then there is a maintenance fee for the first year that the patent owner has to pay. I think it's about $50. Second year, $100. Third year, $100. Fifth year, $100. Honorable Nsereko, what do you think about that state of affairs? That the owner of patent have to pay maintenance fees, and what can be done by the legislature to encourage people to create?
Awesome.
Thank you very much. What a wonderful question. Of course, innovation without patents is like throwing a pack of salt in a lake. There is no impact that you have. I absolutely talked about that, but you know we are members of WIPO and Nsereko, the World Intellectual Property Organization, and the African Regional Intellectual Property Organization. Some fees, I asked about it, and the first answer that came through is that some of these fees were agreed in the treaties. But that is the very same thing you're saying, and I agree with you, because it's deterrent. For example, I was in Kololo, and I wish in the next UNAA, as we are growing, we accept that we invite people that have done innovations here. There is a guy who has made a wonderful innovation of fuel from, you need to see it, from Jambogo University, that can be used in cars. And hardly did others even know that cannabis can be used to generate biofuel that can even be used in aviation engines, jet engines. And one guy is there languishing on the streets of Kampala. I think after having used this, sniffed it properly and also through he went and realized that they share similar properties. And the guy, without going to school, he invented this thing. And the guy is there. And when I was interacting with one gentleman in the UK who sits in the World Bank and he said, Mr. Mohamed, do you know the innovation we have? Then I asked him what innovation. We've invented a new type of cannabis that can be used in aviation field. I felt like crying. And I asked him, how much did you invest? He said, we invested about 500 million pounds. Then the young man in Africa who had invented it before for 0 shillings is dying with his novelty. Something he invented off the street, maybe he had chewed it for a long time and also sniffed this and compared the properties and they were the same. He realized that I think if I mix this with this and produce this, but there is no big fund to help such people. Now, I understand your pain. The pain you have is the pain I have. I'll process that and lay it on the floor of Parliament. In the future, and I'll say, there is a store of land. Someone has told me that innovation without protection of the people that innovate is nothing. And the cost of protection is actually very high. So you can imagine a person from Chisoro has invented something amazing, maybe from maybe Kabanga, whatever it is. And at the end of the day, you tell him that you have to pay this. It's a deterrent. I agree with you entirely, and I plead guilty as judge.
All right, let's have Georgina with our next question.
Thank you so much, Honorable. I know we have time bad, but I'm here to advocate. Want to thank you so much for your time and all your expertise. I'm a senior data scientist / a data engineer with a very strong background in healthcare and other areas, data science, machine learning, cloud computing, and if I may have the honor to come and talk to you after this. But the reason I'm here, and I know we're time back, is I would like to advocate for tech forum, a UNAA forum that's just dedicated to IT, because we don't have enough time. You're talking about innovations, we have entrepreneurs here, innovators, all these young kids, youth. We have Zoe Cash. We really need to have time to present and all the innovators you're talking about in Uganda. So if we organize something, hopefully next year, and it's just IT, Honorable, will you be able to come and be here and bring others too, please, so that we can network. This is very important. You have so many things that you're telling us, and expertise and ideas. I think we need to bring them to fruition.
Amazing.
Thank you so much for your time.
Another round of applause.
All right.
I would like to thank Mr. Kakaile, because even this dream we are talking about started small. I can assure you, if you want a tech forum independent, you have thousands of people there. And we are not in shortage. And you'll appreciate that even you with small investment. I was telling Mr. Kakayo, there's a great innovation we have, and it will take everyone by surprise. And the people doing it, if you look at them, these are guys that doing diploma at Uganda Institute of Communication. Amazing. But can I tell you one thing? There is pain in Mr. Kakayo and others. I was in Parliament trying to lobby for counterpart funding. The US, through a company, has given us a grant of $75 million. First phase and another phase, the total grant is $250 million to build the first virtual center of reality in sub-Saharan Africa, other than the one in South Africa. And we have failed through the budget to raise 6 billion shillings. Why? When I was talking about it on the floor of Parliament, no one understood. So the pain that I carry by saying this in, we are talking of virtual reality, then someone else maybe give you get out. What are you talking about? By telling them, if we don't train people like surgeons, because they want to create mock surgery rooms, where surgeons in Mulago will be brought in to learn how to use technology to carry out sensitive operations through the use of nanotechnology. You know it. That is so precise. But if you do not have a center, I told them, listen, if we are to move every single trainee to go and study in Europe or in America, it will be difficult. But if the center is built here, you can bring thousands and put them here, and at the end of the day, you'll only be moving precious labor to fill even the gaps in the US. So we don't have that strategic vision. But I can only say it starts with us. Now we've started the journey. Let's carry on the journey. Let's network. Do not sit next to someone and you don't know them.
All right.
Turn to your neighbor and say that who are you? The one. You see, that is the mistake we do, Mr. Bakayo. You meet in meetings and you leave without knowing your neighbor. So where is the networking? So turn to your neighbor and say, who are you, by the way?
I like that.
Okay, thank you very much. The host has told me we are time bad. The technology Chimeza is complete. We'll meet in the next forum there, but at least everyone that is here knows their neighbor, only that I don't know all of you. But I will know you and we shall network. Let's exchange cards. Let's create the forum as it is. Let's get it online. Let's have Zoom interaction and then organize the next big thing. May the good Lord bless you.
All right. Come on, people. Let's appreciate. Thank you.
Hello Diaspora, Salam Bachikun. My name as always is welcome to the UNAA Technology Forum where innovation meets opportunity.